a change of guard, over a period of time can have a positive impact on the security architecture, right? We can argue that.
Oh, no, absolutely, it can. But I think you want to tie that in to the appointing officer, in this case, the commander-in-chief, of course, and to the mindset of the commanding officer. What he's willing to accept as okay, what he's ready to live with, and what he is not.
Okay.
For me, his security is very regimented, so much so that if the appointing officer gives his marching orders and he gives his terms of reference to those he has appointed, he knows when they punch below the belt. He knows when they perform poorly. And he can say that, okay, I expected XYZ and I did not find that. So therefore, you cannot continue to remain in office. There could be consequences for criminal negligence or criminal complicity, if you like. But he also knows when he says, okay, yes, they've done well. So it's a function of what constitutes mediocrity to the commander-in-chief. When the commander-in-chief decides that all is going well, I think it's basically how he is able to push those he has appointed. That determines their performance, really.
So if I should go by what you have said now, the commander-in-chief, can we then blame the former president, for the failure, and not necessarily the service chiefs, even going as far back as Buratai? Can we blame the commander-in-chief, the former commander-in-chief?
Absolutely. In fact, for me, the buck stopped on his table. He stopped on his table because he was the commander-in-chief. He appointed the people into office. He was the one who swore an oath, to protect the security and welfare of all Nigerians. And one problem I think he had, he was known to be trusting of those he put in office. And it's very difficult for him to even effect a change. Remember that Buratai and his set of colleagues, they were in office even beyond their legitimate period of service. They have done more than 35 years. They have done more than 60 years of age. But the president left them in office. So yes, you would want to, if the commander-in-chief decides that you must do better, more often than not, those people who are chiefs, they get to do better because they know that the commanding officer, the appointing officer will not accept anything less. But where the appointing officer believes that there's not much you can do, you have done well, I think we'll get what we get, basically, and that's what we had with the likes of Buratai, so much so that it became a norm. There was nothing happening. Things were not changing. At a point in time, President Buhari was in one security meeting after another security meeting.
Unlike the previous administration, does this spread to all of the geopolitical zones? Although I did not see the North Central in that lineup, but does this spread, does this give that spread, that federal character, that rotational argument?
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge improvement on what President Buhari did. Yes, like you mentioned, the North Central may be lacking at this time, but I believe they're not done. You still have the intelligence agencies. You still have one or two other military or paramilitary. You have the NSCDC. You have immigration. You have the DSS. You have the NIA. So as far as this is what President Tinubu has done compared to Buhari, Tinubu is miles ahead because one, you can see that you have some sort of balance in terms of Christians and Muslims, and you also have the South covered, and you have the North covered. Unlike the time when President Buhari appointed the service chiefs, you could literally have a security council meeting and Hausa is the language of the day. But this appears much more Nigerian. It's much more representative of the diverse cultural heritage of Nigeria. You have somebody who is an Igbo person, you have Yoruba people, you have Hausa Fulani people, and I think you have someone from South Cross River, Northern Cross River. I think this is the way to go, really. It could get better, but this is the way to go. Particularly because we have had a very divisive country and administration in the last few years. So you need to create that sense of belonging from different parts of the country. But over time, these things will count less.
Sorry, does this affect the security architecture in any way? I mean, this one from Southeast, that one from Southwest, Northeast, Northwest. Does it affect, the security architecture in any way?
Well, I think it's just the optics, really. It's the optics. When the chips are down, what counts really is the marching orders. What is the operational order of the commander-in-chief? What has to be achieved? And then what is the mindset, the capability, the know-how of his service chiefs? And then what is the capacity in terms of equipment, in terms of facilities, in terms of training of manpower that you have? That's what determines what you achieve from security eventually, in all said and done. So the issue of the origins of these people in different offices is just for the optics.
All right.
That is one. And also to try to build national cohesion in the manner of speaking, so that people can truly say the government at the center is our government. And I know somebody whose name sounds like mine.
There are conversations surrounding Ribadu's appointment. He was, AIG at some point, a police officer. And some people are saying, how would military officers answer to, a policeman or a former policeman? But President Tinubu is not the first person to have done it, right? Under Abacha, it was done. Under IBB, it was done. I think under Shonokan, it was also done. But what do you make of these arguments? Ribadu as the National Security Advisor.
Okay, I think it was a good call of the president, much as I have my reservations as to the government of the day, but I think it was a good call. What we've had over time and the tendency for us to believe that the NSA position should be the exclusive preserve of members of the military, and particularly the army, which is considered the senior of the armed forces, I think is actually a misnomer. A national security advisor should, in the true sense of the term, be a national security advisor. He need not necessarily have security background even, not to talk about streamlining him to the armed forces. So you need somebody who has some level of top-notch experience in diverse fields. You need somebody who's a critical thinker, right? Yeah. It's a plus if he has security experience. Because we've had cases, agencies, places like the US that will try to fashion our democracy after. They've had NSAs, they've even had CIA directors who have been non-security, non-military, non-intelligence background. And they appoint them. And they do very well in office. Because they are there to advise. They even have a fresh pair of eyes to look at things. They are not bogged down by, this is how we've been doing it, we must continue. So that complacency doesn't exist with them. So I don't know, I've not been able to go through the NSA Act because I believe there's some provision there and the president must have gone through that in taking a decision. But for me, deciding that you must get a military person to hold that office is a misnomer, really. And for those who argue, how can somebody who has not been a military man be respected by military men? The same way the military submits itself to civil authority under the president, who has never been a military person, but is commander-in-chief. And whoever the president appoints as the NSA is an agent of the president. So he acts for the president. You have no option than to listen and obey, and to respect the person. It's the office, in fact, that you respect, not necessarily the individual. The individual that just brings the office to life and tries to get the wishes of the president done. So for me, we shouldn't dwell on that, and I think it's very good. In fact, I'm one of those who have been championing the cause for people who are professionals, who are global citizens, to be appointed as NSAs. They don't have to be people who have been bogged down by the limitations that we have for our military and our security agencies. I think Ribadu is a proper fit for that office.